Hello everyone, welcome to Group 1's Group Portfolio presentation with 6 members. This will be the table of content that this presentation will cover, starting with the executive summary and ending with the conclusion. This presentation was to investigate the annual average return, total risk, and systematic risk as the foundation for evaluating the performance of the Vietnam Ho Chi Minh Stock Index and the portfolio, including stocks from 5 companies: Vietnam Airlines JSC, Vingroup, Vinamilk, SSI Securities, and Hoa Phát Group JSC. In terms of the annual average return in general from 2020 to 2022, due to various internal and external factors such as the prolonged geopolitical tension between Russia and Ukraine, the frozen corporate bond market, or the crackdown on stock market, or the domestic investor withdrawal, this period can be described with unusual fluctuations. In the first 2 years, 2020 and 2021, not only the market, but also the companies of our portfolio would also be observed as experiencing rapid growth. VN Index broke the record of annual average return in 2020, reaching the new peak in 2021. Moreover, 2 out of 5 companies of our group portfolio, the SSI and Hồng Phát Group stocks, as well as the group portfolio, developed in the same direction as the market, with significantly higher annual return rates than the VN Index. However, indexes were hampered in early 2020, leading to an annual average return dropping to a negative rate. Nonetheless, the 2022 rises resulted in a significant drop in all stocks, with the exception of Vinamilk, and the other 4 companies, as well as the group portfolio annual average return, were significantly lower than the VN Index. In other aspects, total risk and systematic risk, or in other words, varying standard deviation and beta coefficient, are the factors that must be considered carefully. The VN Index daily variance and standard deviation are researched to make a comparison to the respective indexes for the remaining companies, and the group portfolio, which turned out to be much higher. The beta coefficient and the total risk also follow the same pattern. The betas of Vinamilk and Vingroup were noticeably smaller than those of VN Index. The group portfolio beta demonstrated that it was directed to that of the Vietnam Stock Exchange. And finally, this presentation will recommend an optimal portfolio based on the analysis to ensure diversification, minimize the unsystematic risk, and produce high returns. Data is extracted from computable database and website, then processed and calculated using Microsoft Excel's computer software to produce the final results.
In this part, I will make a brief summary about business lines, history, ownership structure, and financial performance of 5 companies in our portfolio. The first is Hoa Phát. Hoa Phát operates in metals and mining with a sector in basic materials. In 1992, Hoa Phát was first started as a company specializing in trading construction machines and equipment. From 1995 to 2020, the company extended in more fields such as furniture, steel, and agricultural products. In 2007, Hoa Phát was officially listed on Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh Stock Exchange. Hoa Phát Group had their foreign shareholders account for 23.4%, while other groups own 76.6%. The chairman Trần Đình Long make up 26.8% of ownership structure. In terms of financial performance, although in 2021, Hoa Phát Group observed significant increase in all elements when compared with the years 2020. However, in 2022, there were slightly decrease in total revenue and total assets. The second is Vingroup Joint Stock Company. Vingroup is a corporation that operates in various fields such as property, consumer retail, or education. Although the companies were founded in 1993, to 2020 the company began operation in Vietnam. In 2007, VinFast were officially listed on Ho Chi Minh Stock Exchange. And to 2014, Vingroup bought the supermarket chain to get a market share in the retail industry. And in the next years, company expanded their operation by establishing WinMed hospitals, Win schools, and the brand car WinFast. In terms of ownership structure, the company makes up to over 87% of other ownership and 12% of foreign ownership. Vietnam Investment Group account for over 22% and the chairman Phạm Nhật Vượng account for over 19%. About financial performance overall, Vingroup experienced significant fluctuations in its statistics from 2020 to 2022. A sharp fall in its net income was seen in 2021, despite a growth of over 16% in total revenue compared with 2020. However, Vingroup witnessed a recovery and remarkable rise in all components in 2022. The third company is the SSE Security Corporation. The company operates in retail security service, institutional security service, asset management, investment banking, and treasury. SSE was established in 1999 and 2006. The company share registered for trading on Hanoi Stock Exchange. In 2007, SSE was established listed on the Ho Chi Minh Stock Exchange. In 2018, SSE issued over 1 billion Vietnam dong of convertible bonds with the maturity of 3 years along with the annual coupon rate of 4%. Over 65% of ownership structure was from domestic investment. Foreign ownership accounts for nearly 35%, and the last 0.2% belong to treasury share. The largest shareholders of SSE were Daewoo Security Group, account for nearly 16%. In 2021, a significant growth in total revenue was recorded, which led to the increase of other components listed in the table. However, in 2022, the companies faced a share drop. Most of their components decreased except total assets and total equity keep increasing. The next is Vinamilk Joint Stock Company. Vinamilk operates mainly in dairy industry and dairy-related products. The company was founded in 1976 and listed on the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange in 2006. In 2010, Vinamilk also invested in the US and opened more factories in several countries. Up to 2017, the revenue of the company reached to $2.1 billion, and in 2021, company climbed to top 40 world dairy producer with highest turnover in the world. Domestic shareholders account for over 40% of ownership structure, while foreign shareholders own for 28.2%. Total assets in 2021 grew significantly compared to previous years, but by 2022, they had decreased almost equal to 2020. Further, it can be seen through net income that the company's profits is declining, which decreases the worth of the shareholder investment.
Okay, and the last company is Vietnam Airlines Joint Stock Company. Vietnam Airlines business line is transportation and warehousing. About its history, in January 1956, Vietnam Airlines, the flag carrier of Vietnam, was established by the government of Vietnam. In 2014, Vietnam Airlines have had 1.4 billion shares. In 2019, Vietnam Airlines was officially listed on the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange. On September 14, 2021, Vietnam Airlines has increased its capital structure to 22.14 trillion Vietnam dong by issuing 800 million additional shares. Okay, so about the ownership structure, 86.34% of Vietnam Airlines is owned by the government. Foreign ownership accounted for 5.62% and the last 8% belonged to the other. The largest shareholder of Vietnam Airlines is Commission for the Management State of Capital at Enterprise, 55%. Financial performance over 3 years, 2020, 2021, and 2022, Vietnam Airlines Joint Stock Company experienced a dramatic decline to negative in net income. This could be explicable because of the COVID-19 forced all transportation and travel activity to become limited. In 2022, there was a slight increase in total revenue, which led to the dramatic growth in to ROA ratio. However, the net income still remained at a negative figure.
In the next section, our will demonstrate the annual average return of the Vietnam Market Index and five companies before indicating the annual average return of our group's portfolio. All the data is downloaded from the first day of 2020 to the last day of 2022 in investing.com and calculated by Excel. At first glance, a strong fluctuation was seen in the total average return between VNI and five companies. It is noteworthy that the stock market in 2022 negatively experienced a remarkable downward trend in all categories due to the COVID pandemic and economic volatility. Let's begin with 2020. There is an obvious distinction in the average return, characterized by the considerable figure of Hafed and Securities Corporation stock at 74.4% and 19% respectively, compared to negative figures of -6% and -19.23% that were recorded in the corresponding figure of Vingroup and Vietnam Airlines. 13.27 was reported in the average return of Vietnam market, which demonstrates a stable share of stock market. However, when it comes to 2021, the annual average return trend can be divided into two groups, upward and downward trends. To be more specific, Vingroup and Securities Corporation witnessed a slight increase. It is also noticeable that an impressive growth from -19.23% to 2.5% of Vietnam Airlines was seen, because Vietnam Airlines has issued 800 million shares to existing shareholders to increase capital by 7,961 billion. On the other hand, the remaining groups experienced a downward trend by 35% for Hafec and 25% for Vinamilk due to the lower demand for steel and dairy products resulting from the COVID epidemic. Despite the stock fluctuation, the market average return was recorded at 29%, which was 16% higher than previous year. In 2022, most stocks declined sharply except Vinamilk. To be more specific, an increase by 28% was recorded in the figure of Vinamilk, and this promising growth has enabled Vinamilk ranked at the first place in average return. The remaining stock dropped substantially, which caused dramatic damage for investors. Fact and Vingroup stocks decreased adversely to around -67 and 63% respectively. Meanwhile, a significant drop to almost 200% was seen in Security Corporation stock. As a result, the VN index fell to a low of -41.5%, a significant drop from the previous year. Investors may struggle to overcome and compensate for losses caused by changes in external forces if they lack of experience and good anticipatory ability. In conclusion, Vingroup, Vinamilk and Vietnam Airlines average returns are reported at the negative proportion, while the rest of the list is recorded positively of the whole survey period. In terms of group portfolio average return, a massive drop in 2022 led to a negative share in the 3-year period at approximately -5%, although the first 2 years were positively recorded. Therefore, thoroughly considering stocks way for investment is essential for investors during such volatility scene.
Hello, my name is Nhi and I will be in charge of investigating the total risk. We calculated the variance and standard deviation of the VNI, the five firms, and our group's portfolio based on the daily return of each stock in the table below. The Vietnamese stock market was safe and low risk, with a standard deviation of only 1.448%, encouraging and reassuring investors to participate in the VN index willingly. This comes at the expense of lower yields and profits than other stock market investments. The VN index variance is calculated to be 0.00021. The Vietnamese stock market is still in its infancy in comparison to other countries in the region with small market capitalization. as well as in comparison to the United States, which has a long established and world-leading stock market. Another risk factor in the Vietnamese stock market is new investors and experience a lack of expertise, which leads them to rush into hot stocks out of fear of missing out, but without conducting thorough and sufficient research. This tendency leads to immediate asset losses and market turbulence. In terms of Hoa Phat Group, a beta coefficient used to measure volatility review HPG stock 1.23597. This can be defined as the fact that its stock is not only approximately 24% more volatile than the market portfolio, but also implies a higher systematic risk. Furthermore, investors who buy these stocks face a higher risk of losing money when the market falls, but gaining more if the market rises. Next is the Vingroup JSC. Despite experiencing a significant fluctuation in VIC price and average return, its variance and standard deviation figures change only slightly over a 3-year period. It is worth noting that its proportion of VIC doubled that of VNI, indicating a high risk for investors. Investing in VIC, which ranks third in the variance and standard deviation sections, would result in the greater loss of benefit for investor in 2020 to 2022 at minus 23.402%. As a result, when deciding to invest in VIC for long-term periods, investors should think carefully and precisely calculate VIC weights in their portfolio to gain the most value. Recorded at 0.804, indicating a higher 8.04% volatility to the market, ranking third out of 5 firms. However, because of the massively negative amount in VIC of average return, investors should exercise caution before investing in the stock. Following is the SSI Securities Corporation. The risk level of SSI was recorded at an extremely high rate in the 2020-2022 period, which is 3 times higher than that of the market portfolio in the same period. SSI, which ranks first in terms of risk among the other 4 stocks, is not suitable for investors who prefer stability and safety. Those who took the risk and invested in SSI at the beginning of 2020, on the other hand, would have made a huge profit with an annual average return of 21.092% after holding the stock for 3 years. However, that is not the most profit investors could make. Best selling point would be on the 30th of November 2021 when the stock value reached a 3-year high of 50,505 Vietnam dong before gradually declining until March 2022, followed by a significant recession caused by the Fed's continuous interest rate increases. Next is Vietnam Dairy Products Vinamilk with a standard deviation of only 0.017. Vinamilk is the second lowest risk firm of the 6. Vinamilk is a dairy brand with long-term commercial potential that has always been highly regarded by consumers for its safety and reputation, which explains why there is such a low risk. Furthermore, Vinamilk has the lower standard deviation than the Vietnam market, indicating that Vinamilk is a stock worth considering for investors. However, investors must continue to monitor the market on a regular basis in order to have a quick investment adjustment strategy in place when unanticipated consequences arise.
Despite being 1.14% higher than the market, the risk level of Vietnam Airlines stock is shallow, with a rate of 2.6%. For some investors expecting huge short-term gain, this stock may not provide worthwhile returns over time. Vietnam Airlines stock, on the other hand, can be an ideal investment for those who are afraid to take risks and want to invest in a safe company, but they should pay close attention to any information in the real estate market for potential increase in its stock price. Therefore, 3-year portfolio standard deviation varies from 1% to over 2%. This figure describes the safety and security of the portfolio's 5 businesses. with the risk level that are around 1.3 to 1.6 times greater than the Vietnamese market. Furthermore, the low standard variation of portfolio indicates that the stocks are volatile and near the mean. Investor unsystematic risk can be reduced by focusing on long-term financial investment, which are less influenced by market volatility and provide the best returns.
And now I will talk about the systematic risk of five company and VN index. First, I will talk about the VN index. Although the systematic risk is unpredictable and cannot be completely avoided, investors can manage it in a variety of ways. For example, by making sure their portfolio includes a variety of assets such as fixed income, cash, because each will react differently to the overall market. In addition, when using the VN index beta, an investor may estimate the systematic risk of an asset, fund, or portfolio, and a beta greater than 1 means the investment has more systematic risk than the market, while a beta less than 1 means less systematic risk than the market. And finally, a beta of 1 means the investment has the same systematic risk as the market. About Huarfat Group, the beta with gauges of stock volatility shows the value of 1.24 for HBG. This shows the fact that HBG stock is not only around 24% more volatile than the market portfolio, but also signals higher systematic risk. As a result, investors who purchase this stock may suffer more losses when the market falls but will profit more if the market rises. Green Group beta is 0.804, which indicates it is 8.04% lower than the market volatility, placing it third out of five. The average return on VIC stock, on the other hand, is significantly negative. It demonstrates that VIC firm had been losing money for the previous 3 years. Thus, investors should think carefully before buying this stock. SSI is regarded as a risky stock among the five evaluated firms, with a beta rating of 1.6. This suggests that SSI stock is 60.12% more volatile than the market as a whole. To maximize gains from SSI, investors need to remain current on market moves, Fed policies, and a variety of other factors that influence stock prices. V&M has the lowest beta coefficient of the five firms at about 0.68. This demonstrates that V&M has a lower beta than the market. As a result, while V&M stock is reasonably steady, less volatile than the overall market, and has low risk, so its profit potential is smaller than the other five companies. And the last one is Vietnam Airlines. When compared to the market beta, HVN beta is 1.09, meaning that the stock is 9% less volatile than the market. Thus, while investing in this stock, investors do not risk losing a lot of money if the market falls, and they may also make a lot of money if the market increases. About our group systematic risk portfolio. From 2020 to 2022, our group portfolio shows three different beta coefficients of 1.12, 1.32, 1.37 respectively. In the first year, all stocks were equally weighted, which resulted in a little volatile portfolio. Hence, it could be understood why the portfolio interest likely fluctuated more than the market in 2020. See now 2021, SSI warehouse increases and accounted for a major part of the portfolio. And for having the highest beta, SSI has affect the portfolio beta and make it grow to more than 1.3 since 2021. Having a higher beta, our group portfolio considerably fluctuated more than the market in 2021 and 2022. In summary, it could be understood that every time the VN index changes, our group portfolio would have 10% greater change in 2020 and around 30% greater change in 2021 and 2022.
Hi, let's come to the last part of our presentation, which is building an optimal portfolio for the 5 chosen companies. Equally distributed capital seems not to be the most preferable structure for our portfolio in the 2020-2022 period. Hence, we have used the solver function in Excel to calculate the optimal portfolio with the lowest risk. As you can see there, this is how an optimal portfolio looks like. With the standard deviation of 3.06% as mentioned above, SSIs appear to be an incredibly risky stock to be invested, hence it is eliminated out of the optimal portfolio and now we just have 4 left. Vinamilk accounts for more than half of the portfolio because it is the safest company among the 5 chosen. Next, in order based on calculation, we are suggested to use 30.25% of our initial capital to purchase Vingroup shares, followed by Vietnam Airlines and Hoa Vac Group with the weight of 10% and 9.3% respectively. By adjusting the capital structure, it is obvious that the standard deviation has been brought down to 1.46%, which is much lower than the standard deviation of the group portfolio in each year that has been presented above. And it means that the portfolio now is much less risky than it used to be. Moreover, the beta coefficient of our optimal portfolio is 0.81, leading to a result that our portfolio is less volatile than the VN index. Looking at this graph, it can be easily seen that the optimal portfolio fluctuates less dramatic than the VN index in most cases. Additionally, the growth trend of our optimal portfolio depends greatly on the market volatility because it drops whenever the VNI shows a negative growth rate, otherwise it rises. Furthermore, in 2022, America faces an over-limit inflation rate, which is the reason why Federal Reserve increased the interest rate many times. Subsequently, it led to the recession in Vietnamese economy in many other countries. Therefore, in such a hard, difficult period of time, this optimal portfolio is designed to minimize the risk as well as the loss. We are not aiming at making any profit in this period of time because it is incredibly difficult to do that. It has been calculated that if we distributed our capital in a recommended way, we would have an annual average return of minus 11.86% for the 3-year period.
In conclusion, throughout the 3-year period, there were various remarkable observations from the whole Vietnamese stock market in general. In 2021, the VN Index showed signs of recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic and picked up the recording of escalating indexes and stock markets trading. These circumstances resulted in the positive annual average return of the 5 companies. Surprisingly, by the year 2021, saw the incredible growth of indexes on Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange as well as the stocks of Vietnam Airlines, Vingroup, and SSI, as market liquidity consistently broke new records with soaring average trading value and volume, as well as an increasing number of new domestic investors. However, in 2022, the ongoing geopolitical tension between Russia and Ukraine, as well as the stock market crackdown, caused the looming fall of the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange Index, which partly explained the 5 companies' negative annual average return. To remedy these situations, a research has been made on annual average return, total risk, and systematic risk of the 5 chosen stocks in the 3 years. The aim of this is to produce an optimal portfolio in order to effectively reduce risk and introduce a prudent investment option. And that's also the end of our presentations. Thanks for watching and listening.